Arrest him. For what? He's dangerous. For libel. He's a spy. Father, that man's bad. There's no law against that. There is God's law. Then God can arrest him. While you talk, he's gone. And go he should, if he were the devil himself, until he broke the law. So, now you'd give the devil benefit of law? Yes, what would you do? Cut a great road through the law to get after the devil? Yes, I'd cut down every law in England to do that. Oh, and when the last law was down, and the devil turned around on you, where would you hide, Roper? The laws all being flat. Yes, I'd give the devil benefit of the law for my own safety's sake. Well, I grew up in southern West Virginia in the coal fields, and it was a rough way to make a living. And so I have maybe a little bit of a unique upbringing compared to people that, grew up in other parts of the country. I got to see, tragically, as I grew up, I got to see a lot of people that were horribly injured. I got to see kids come to school that had lost their dad. I got to see my grandfather, who ran one of the first pieces of mechanized mining equipment ever purchased by a coal company. I watched him die of black lung because it had no protections on it for your respiratory system. So I believe that really never left me. I always wanted to help. My father made it very clear, after my great-grandfather, my grandfather, and my father were coal miners, that I was not going in the mines. So I was going to go off to school and I was going to do something. And I love the people I grew up with. And I got an opportunity to do something where I can actually represent them and maybe right some of the wrongs. I can't make everything right. I really love my clients. These are the people I grew up with, and I've been so blessed that I've made a career of representing the people I love. There was a time in the early 80s where folks thought that the practice of law was going to change in a very, what I'd say, a negative way. I'd heard a lot of that. My high school guidance counselor had even mentioned it to me. So I got off to college and I thought, well, I'm a smart kid. If I'm not going to be a lawyer, well, let's be a doctor. So I took biology at WVU, and I actually had good grades. I had like a 3.8 GPA in biology and absolutely hated it. And I went to my guidance counselor, my WVU guidance counselor. And I was like, man, this is just not working for me. I'm doing well, but I don't like it. And I changed majors and got into something I thought was a little more interesting, securities, markets, and investments. I found that to be fascinating. I remember this is Gordon Gekko Wall Street days, and enjoyed that, but I also knew I wanted to go to law school. So then I went on to law school. I really care about my clients. So I try to get to know them. I try to understand not just what happened to them in this situation, but the story that their entire life before they had this tragedy or this horrible event that happened to them, and then to try to understand the impact of that event after and how they'll live with it the rest of their lives. So I do think that sets me apart. Lawyers can sometimes believe that they are the smartest people in the room. I like to have my clients teach me about what their work was like and what happened to them. And then, even though I have this legal knowledge, from the law books and all the procedure and so forth, you really need to have an intimate understanding of if it's not a workplace or it's a hospital, wherever the event happened, if it's a product, you need to understand that product. And so I had a case where I had a young man who was paralyzed setting up a mobile home. Well, I went and got certified to set up mobile homes because I needed to understand what they did wrong, what instructions, what shortcuts they took that resulted in this man not being able to walk. I couldn't have learned that in law school, and I could have the greatest IQ in the world, but you need to have subject matter knowledge. And I have always practiced law that way, and I can tell you my law partners do that. We got certifications in our law firm that you wouldn't believe for a bunch of lawyers. I think that's been a really big differentiator, if that's even a word I can use, but certainly I believe that that has had a lot to do with the success that we've had in our cases. We're all trying to do justice. We all are trying to seek the truth, and everyone expects that. I think what sometimes people forget, it is a business. I have to be very, very careful in the business on how I select my cases. The only thing that's ever going to matter in your life is your integrity. In my life, personally and professionally, and I tell this to the young associates who go to work at the firm, and I've told my children this, there are going to be so many times in your life where the only thing that's going to make a difference in the outcome is whether or not someone can take you at your word. That's it. And I have had settled cases. I have had judges, opposing lawyers. I've had numerous situations in my life where the result was the fact that not only did they tell me this, but I've heard them tell other people, he will not lie to you. If he says it, you can bank on it. So I can have someone come to see me and they have maybe one of the most tragic situations. The story just breaks my heart. But I have to have a legal remedy available for what's happened to them. And if I don't do them any favors. If I take the case anyway, drag them through a year or two of litigation, and then they get a poor result. On the business side of it, I have to remember that for me to keep my doors open, for me to be able to help the people I can help, I have to have some very tough conversations with folks that as much as I would love to help them, I really can't under what are the available legal remedies. When I was doing the Upper Big Branch case, man, they took us underground, and there were several lawyers that were, of course, many lawyers, and so we all had to go underground and tour the mine, and so there were all the defense lawyers, all the plaintiffs' lawyers, and the company had supervisors that, of course, were escorting us and making sure we only went where we were supposed to go. It's dangerous underground. So I spent the day with this one individual. He was a great guy, and I've done a lot of mining work, being around my grandfather and my dad so much. I just, over the course of the day, we just chatted. I wasn't trying to pump any information out of him. We ended up talking about our kids and vacations, and but it didn't take him long to figure out I knew what I was doing underground. And but it's just a really nice time in a tragic situation. He was doing his job, I was doing my job. And about 2 weeks after that, though, I was sitting down in a barber shop. In walks this fella, and I didn't realize that he lived close enough to that place that he got his hair cut. We just never been here at the same time. And he sat down, and we said, kind of exchanged our pleasantries. He said, "Man, I want to tell you something." He said, I had to take all the lawyers' cards that day, so I'd have all the information so I could record it in the book, because we have to make a record of who all's been underground. And he said, I just want you to know something. I took your card home that night, and I gave it to my wife, and I told her, if anything ever happens to me, you call this man. And to me, that was the greatest compliment that I could have ever received, is to have someone with that many lawyers and just getting to know me a little bit to say to his family, this is the guy to trust.